Good morning, everyone. So exciting to be here with you all this morning. I am Tangela, the founder of Soul Search, and I'm excited because we have a live chat today with Dr. John Gray. John Gray is the author of the world renowned book, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, and he is the most trusted relationship and love expert of all time. So we're really excited because John is going to be joining us today for a discussion about enlightened relationships and sexuality, as well as many other topics. We want to hear your questions. And also, John is going to be live with us coming this weekend in Santa Clara for the Soul Search Santa Clara Enlightenment Expo at the Santa Clara Hilton. So, for those of you guys in the Bay Area, come and join us and see John live. He's going to be giving an amazing talk on enlightened sexuality, as well as a powerful workshop, which I'll let him chat about a little bit later. And he'll also be with us in Burbank next weekend at the Soul Search Burbank Enlightenment Expo. So it's going to be two amazing opportunities to see John live, attend his talks and workshops, and really learn from this master. And so we're excited to welcome John to Soul Search today and hear all of his wisdom and knowledge and everything he has to share with us about relationships, enlightenment, spiritual expansion, and so much more. Welcome, John. How are you?
Oh, so nice to see you again, Tangela. Such a pleasure. And I'm very excited for people to hear a little bit about what we're going to talk about in the weekend. It'll be really fun time for people.
Yeah, it's going to be great. So, John, what a lot of people don't know about you, they know that you're this world famous author and relationship expert, but a lot of people don't realize that you were actually the personal assistant to Maharishi Mahesh Yogi and you studied transcendental meditation for many, many years.
Well, I've been meditating since I was 18, so that's over 50 years. I'm 72 now. And I do it every morning. I do it before bed. When I wake up and I do it before bed, always. It's nice for everybody to have a routine that they do, but just something that allows you to come back into yourself. And I love TM. I feel TM's a great technique. I went on to more advanced techniques. And what I find is what I'll be sharing at the Soul Search conference, the Enlightenment Conference, is a lot of people find meditation to be boring. And often that's because if you're a child in school and you're learning arithmetic, 1 + 1 is 2, and then division, it's all very exciting. I can remember being so excited that remember when I could count to 100, I figured it out. How you count to 100. I was showing off as to my grandmother. So that was all very exciting because I was reaching the boundaries of my knowledge. But at a certain point, when the soul grows more than just beginner's meditation, it will become boring. If I was just counting to 100 and that's all I did, the rest of my math developmental stages, it would just been boring. So we need to be challenged by going to higher levels. My own personal journey of going into the inner world takes me to 40 levels, which is, I won't be teaching all 40 levels, but I'll give people a transmission of them anyway. Just because we'll be in deep meditation together, and then I'll describe each level as we go higher and higher and higher. It's a journey of going through all of the energy centers. People know the 7 basic chakras. The lower one is your unconscious. The next one up is pleasure in your life, sexuality. Anything that's enjoyable is your second chakra. Third chakra is about power and influence and so forth. And the next one is about love and sharing, relationship, relatedness, connection. And then this throat chakra is about expression. Crown, the third eye is wisdom and understanding. And then the crown is the connection with the whole. And that's a lot of people just go through that. But that was what I did for years. It just happened in my meditation. I would meditate 15 and 16 hours a day, sometimes even longer.
Wow.
Because I was doing this for my job. Okay. Like when I write a book, I'll write for 15 hours. Okay. I'm a workaholic, but when you get good at something, it just flows. Anyway, so I found the energy would just keep flowing and then starting again and starting again. Then once I sort of opened up Crown completely and was it stabilized in that, that was a fun state. And I described to people all the stages of enlightenment from not just book reading. Okay, this is somebody who went through them, and somehow because I write books and I can articulate those different things. Not to say other people don't have this range of experience, but there's even one which is like at the fourth level of well, the levels go up and then you bring them back down. Okay, so now you went up. Now you want to come back down, and then you come back up again, combining that again, and you come back down again, and you go back up, and you come back. Each time you go up and down, you're integrating more and more experiences, and then you no longer care about experiences. You're embodying them. Okay, it's no longer just it's being. It's states of being enlightened, so to speak, and it's quite interesting to hear this. And a lot of people are more enlightened than they know. So that's
Really?
another. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So imagine that you've never been in water. Imagine that you found water for the first time. You'd be experiencing, oh, water feels so good. I was just seeing a YouTube video of somebody who went to the ocean for the first time and they were like so happy, just being in the water. Oh my gosh, never felt this before. But 10 years later, it's not going to be that thrilling to them. Okay. It's literally if you're cold and you put on a warm jacket, you go, oh, this feels so good. This feels so good. And then you get used to it. You don't notice it so much. So it's the contrast of knowing one thing to another. So let's say you've never been in water, but let's say you were a fish and you were born in water. You don't have any awareness of water. You have to have contrast to know. Now, this is a fun idea. And so let's say you're born at one of those levels of enlightenment. You don't know that you're more enlightened than you were before. So this is the excitement of being able to identify movement through these different stages of enlightenment. Because, so many geniuses, people who have influence in the world, they're very enlightened. I used to think that when I was younger, the only enlightened people were, in meditation, and they could meditate for long hours and, maybe have some mystical power. That's just one experience. Okay. That's just one way of doing it. But there is this ability to meditate, which allows you to transcend the level of enlightenment you have now to go to another level. And what's interesting for me, even as a young boy, I think I used to share my ideas to my mother. She always thought I was going to be a great teacher, which always helps. I was giving my little 5-minute talk before this on Facebook, just warming up, seeing if I could figure out how to use Facebook. And I just said something, which is about I'm going to riff on this for a moment. Just very sweet. It just came out of me, which was, in a relationship, you want to be with somebody who can remember who you are at the times when you've forgotten.
That's beautiful.
Amazing. Because see, that's what I'm able to do. My wife, it can be, sometimes she's not happy or she's angry about something or getting upset about something. And it's very easy to just go, oh, I'm with this unhappy person, as opposed to, no, my wife is a very happy woman. It's just, we tip out of balance at times. And so she forgets how loving she is, so to speak. But I hold on to that. I remember that. And and of course, I'm 72 years old. I've done all this personal growth, but I just want to describe that's the ideal of a relationship that we should shoot for. Not everybody's going to be able to master that right away, but that's what love is. And when you have your heart is open, keeping your heart open is remembering who that person is at times when they've forgotten. And we can't do that until we realize that within ourselves, there's times when we're out of balance and we're able to come back quickly to the love in our heart. And maybe one degree of enlightenment a person has is to how quickly, when things are upsetting to you, how quickly can you come back to being and comfortable in all things in your life and feeling love and heartfelt feelings, enthusiasm.
And what would be your advice to do that, John? Because, so many of us, we practice, we have these meditation practices, we stay calm, but then of course we get triggered. And once we get triggered, you just go down that spiral. How do you bring yourself back? How does that work?
First of all, just understand the dynamic we're sort of hinting at the beginning, and this is enlightened relationships. Enlightened relationships is to a certain extent, people are already enlightened. They just don't know how to manage that enlightenment, because it's a feeling of oneness. So when you can meditate and just feel that oneness or peace and calm, at ease, and that's a kind of enlightenment. That's an experience of enlightenment. Maybe not embodying it, but at least experiencing it, which is one of the levels, experience. And so then what happens is that's home. Okay, there's the fourth level. What I talk about is when you capture, you own it. For me, I remember when I was in my 20s, around 24, having meditated about 5 years or 4 years, the feeling was my mind has found its resting place. Now, somebody can find this right away. Some people just need a practice, and you can do it right away. But that's my mind. I can find that place. I can come back to myself. But somebody can trigger you out of it. So that's another stage of enlightenment, which is when you're triggered, is you realize that 90% of what's upsetting me is not about what's going on out there. Okay, what's going on out there is just a trigger, and it appears, it's the illusion. It's the Maya, is the Hindu term for it. The Maya is the illusion that you have upset me so much. So I'm so upset with you. Instead of realizing, this is basic psychology. You don't have to use the Hindu word Maya. It's an illusion. Your unhappiness is an illusion. Let me give you an example of an illusion. The sun moves across the sky. Okay, it's moving. Well, that's an illusion. It looks like it's moving, but it's not. We know that we're going around the sun, but it will always appear. And this I remember as a child, when we're driving in the car and there was a full moon rising, and as we're driving, I said, "Mom, look, the moon is following us," because it will look like it's following us, And then she explained to me, actually, we're moving around the moon. And I really didn't comprehend it as much then because the brain hasn't fully developed. So there's this comprehension to look through the illusion. Well, the illusion of other things are upsetting me is that other things are triggering unresolved feelings from our childhood which are completely repressed. We're completely not aware of them. So many people kind of go, I define childhood. Nothing was going on there. I was just counseling a woman the other day. And I said, well, let's talk about your childhood. What was upsetting to you? Nothing was fine. And then I said, well, did your parents ever get mad at you? Well, yes. So I want you to be your mother for a moment and say the things that she said to you. And so then she starts saying it. Tears are flowing down her face. Suddenly all this experience of suffering and pain is coming up that she was not aware of. Because as children, we can't hold on to that. It automatically gets repressed. But in order for the sunshine of our soul to express itself, we have to be childlike. You have to go back and re-experience all of the repressed feelings of childhood that you don't know anything about. And if you hit a lot of people, when they do meditation, a lot of meditation techniques is sort of called spiritual bypass. Ignore all that stuff and just go up. But once you go up, that's a kind of enlightenment. Now your job is to come back down and bring that light into your wisdom, into the way you speak and communicate, into your heart and your relationships, into your business and your power and your self-esteem and all of that. Bring it down into your sexuality, and then bring it the deepest into your unconscious, where you connect with source. And then now like when I'm writing books, I'm just connected to source. When I'm talking right now, I'm connected to source. It's just my soul is speaking. Doesn't mean everything I say is right, though, but it's what my soul knows. And the soul's a lot wiser than my mind, which is just learned from this relative plane. My soul is an eternal soul, but it's learning along the way too. But at least that part of me gets a chance to show up. And it's not just wisdom, but it's also joy. It's also passion. It's motivation. It's courage. All of our best virtues come out of our soul. And for some of us, we're just born with those virtues because we worked on it in other lives, but we're here to learn a new one. We're always here to grow through something new and different. So those are some of the ideas I'll be talking about there.
That's amazing, John. And so you mentioned spiritual bypassing. How do we hear about this all the time. What is it exactly? And how do we make sure we're not doing it?
Well, there's nothing wrong with doing it. Okay. Because really that's what the basic meditation techniques are, is their spiritual bypass. And TM, for example, it's a wonderful technique, and you bypass all of your limitations in order to experience the crown chakra opening, or at least the third eye opening, which is where you have this experience of peacefulness. Okay. So
Mhm.
see, wisdom, this is third eye activity. Wisdom is basically it's knowing everything's okay. You know, this word fear, FEAR, is, you know, a lot of people use the acronym forget, what is it? False evidence appearing real. Okay, so
Mhm.
that's one level of enlightenment where you realize whatever is upsetting you, it's just an illusion. And what's that upsetting you is reminding you of something in your past that you haven't yet resolved and found peace with, and so forth. But for
Mhm.
another level of enlightenment of fear is FEAR, is this is one that I coined, which is forgetting everything's all right. See, everything's all
Mhm.
right, you know, even
I
when you
love
die,
that.
everything's all right, you know,
Yeah.
that's a level of consciousness. You know, when I was a
Mhm.
student of the Maharishi, he would always say, you know, knowledge is different in different states of consciousness. I didn't really know what he
Sure.
meant by that, but, you know, there was certain level of knowledge, which is, you know, in different states of consciousness, one level of, I think what he was referring to is he had 7 states of consciousness. So when you're dreaming,
Mhm.
it's a fantasy. When you're conscious waking, you're in this reality, third dimensional world. When you're sleeping unconscious, that there's no knowledge. When you're in the blank state of deep sleep, which is like a deep
Mhm.
samadhi, just you're not aware of it. And then the other knowledge was he would talk about cosmic consciousness, and that's when you're connecting with uh, the knowledge is different, and that I'm no longer this person. Okay, this is just the expression of this guy behind me. You know, one of the great books for success is Think and Grow Rich. He was a very
Mhm.
enlightened person as well, and he would talk about, you know, why he could manifest. Okay, once you get to these higher states, you can manifest. You're a manifester, by the way. You're very enlightened.
Thank
Uh,
you.
you know, I met you through Marcy Shimoff, who wrote
Mhm.
Happy for No Reason. See, that's another experience of enlightenment, which is your happiness isn't dependent on the outer world. But it's, again, that's good. But now you want your happiness to become even more depending on the outer world. Okay. So this is,
Mhm.
you know, this is
Mhm.
where my marriage is, for example, in that state of consciousness. Whereas I'm a happy guy. I don't really need anybody. I got God. Okay. And I got
Sure.
money. What do I need a woman for? Well, to become happier. Okay. To become happy.
Mhm.
See, so this is
Mhm.
the dynamic of life. You know, we have these different needs, and romance and making love is one of those needs. Companion
Mhm.
is one of those needs. Nobody wants to be alone all the
Mhm.
time.
Mhm.
And a lot of people don't realize this, and a lot of people are very sad as they get older because they haven't built a family around them. You know, and not that
Mhm.
you have to have your own children or whatever, but you need to have a family of people who have your back. So
Mhm.
there's a wisdom for, you know, majority of population is capable of creating a family, and they're not today. You know, the birth rate's going
Mhm.
way down, sexual
Mhm.
attraction has gone way down. You know, and
Mhm.
all of the first thing that happens in a communist country, for example, which is starting to happen in America, is socialism. Here is break down the differences between men and women. When you
Mhm.
deny the differences between men and women, the polarity goes away, and the
Mhm.
polarity goes away, the sexual attraction goes away, and then you don't have the motivation to be in relationship. Okay, so
Mhm.
if you're alone, for particularly for guys, they're one part of the relationship. They have to have strong sexual desire. It's a man's sexual desire that gives him the courage and the motivation to do what's required to change in order to make a woman happy. You know, it's an adjustment.
Mhm.
You gotta make money to make women happy. And some people object to say that. Some men who've only had women who were not happy think that
Mhm.
money is going to make them happy. Well, money's a part of it. Okay, you don't want to be in a relationship with a guy who can't make money unless you have plenty of money yourself. That's
Mhm.
another set of problems. Okay, see, if
Mhm.
you're a woman and you can depend on a man for income source, that's security. See,
Sure.
like money is nothing. Money is just security, and women need to have security in order to produce the female hormones. Now, you can also have security in other ways as well, but to be able
Mhm.
to feel I'm not so separated. But you asked me the question about spiritual bypass. Yeah, that's what TM
Mhm.
is, for example. Whenever you're sitting quietly and your mind starts worrying about stuff, right? And it starts getting
Exactly.
turbulent. So you have in meditation, like in TM, you have a mantra. Let's say it's uh, Abaham. That's not a TM
Mhm.
mantra. we'll just use that one. Avaham. And just repeat over and over. Avaham, Avaham, Avaham. Oh, I'm wondering about what I'm going to have for dinner tonight, or how am I going to solve that tax problem? And you notice, see, it's all about awareness. You notice now I'm off the mantra, and you notice this is the uniqueness about TM. He really brought a good idea to this. Don't ever strain or concentrate. What you do is effortlessly notice how easy it is to think about the taxes, and then how easy it is to think about that. Now it's just as easy to think the mantra. So it makes it easy. So more grace. And that's because he was in a state of enlightenment where he saw everything as grace. That's one of the states of enlightenment, which is everything that happens is to serve us, as opposed to, you know, and everything. And another state of enlightenment, everything you do is only motivated to be of service to others. So these all get piled onto each other. That's what I'm saying. There's 40 levels. And for me to be my normal state, my meditation, I'll go through all 40 to just to tune in. It goes very quickly for me, but sometimes I'll enjoy being at one level for quite a while. Like if I'm at the level of manifestation, I want to make sure I'm creating enough manifestation in my life, so I'll stay at that place. I'll be giving people my technique that I use. Not that other people couldn't have it. I don't know what they have, but I just know what developed inside of me is to manifest the biggest selling book in the world. Okay. Sure. In the 90s, my meditation was Men from Mars, Women from Venus, biggest selling book in the world. I did that for 5 years, and it was on the bestseller list, #1 on Amazon for 5 years. Okay. Never went off. Okay.
Wow, so that was actually part of your practice, John?
Yes. See, I would travel. See, I'm a meditator, so I can go into my meditative state. And then when I go into flow state, once I'm in flow state, I feel my desire to help the world. It's always my desire to help the world. How I'm going to help the world is make Men Are From Mars #1 best-selling book in the world. So I just, you know, it's a 5-hour flight from where I lived in New York. So the whole 5-hour flight, I'm meditating. Men Are From Mars, he's #1 best-selling book in the world. Men Are From Mars, #1 best-selling book in the world. And what happens is, it's real to me because I'm in that flow state. I'm creating my reality. And the more somebody can be in flow state, when they continue to repeat a frequency that you want to manifest in your life. Now, the Hindu mantras that people use in meditation, some of them are intentions. Some of them are just the frequencies that are known to be harmonious frequencies, you know, 534 or whatever. These are different frequencies of sound. They will produce beautiful mandalas. You can see that in the videos. You see, you're meditating on sounds that for thousands of years, people figured out these particular sounds have a harmonious frequency you can produce. One is the frequency of manifestation. Another one's the frequency of love, and so forth. So you just have a mantra that's a frequency, and then you add to it Avaham, which is come. Okay, so then that's intentional meditation. So this frequency, whatever frequency you want to use, then it's Avaham. So that's that come to me. But when TM, we never did Avaham. We just did I bow down, Nama. And that was an advanced technique, which is I surrender. State of surrender is one of these states of consciousness where you're giving up yourself. And, you know, what happens in our lives is we're being helped by the universe to surrender. You know, when you're powerless and there's nothing you can do, you know, we get attached. I want the world to be just the way I am. I want my wife to be just this way. And you have to go like surrender. No, they're not going to be everything the way you think the world should be. There's a coexistence in this world. It's not just all what you want, but you can certainly bring forth more. And that's the idea. Never try to push at the universe, but bring forth the best of what's available to you. And have an intention, a life of intentionalness, which is the meditation. You know, one of the earlier stages is always use me to bless the world. Okay, this is what a you know, when I put people in a simple meditation and they'll feel this divine energy flowing into them. Then I say, now imagine, and everybody can do that. You listen to me for a few minutes. Just put your hands up like this, and you'll start to feel a tingling energy. Go ahead and do it. Just do it for everybody, because you do it. We'll just have for everybody else. You're listening. So you're connecting to me. I'm a meditator, so you're connecting with me. So my abilities come to you right now. So if you just feel your hands, people will now start to feel a tingling or a warmth or a sensation in their fingertips. And with your eyes, close your eyes, feel love in your heart. Friendliness, sometimes easy way to feel love is just feel friendly towards people you like. Feel the friendliness in your heart and feel the happiness. Think of a time when you were happy. So this friendliness and happiness, and then feel compassion. Think of somebody who's you care about and you love, who needs your love. And now feel the energy increase. My God, compassion is so amazing. And you just feel that energy flowing out into those people. That's selflessness. When you're anchored in that state of consciousness, energy just flows. When I'm writing a book, all I care about is how can I construct this book so it will help people. And I think about all my clients and the problems they have and how I can solve them. So it's all very personal. So this is, if you're just in a state of meditation, you're just mantra, you're training your brain to go into flow state. You're wandering off and you train. You wander off and you train. Same thing with monogamy. People don't understand why. Oh, you can just go out with a new woman and a new man and who's interested in you. Feel all this sexual feeling. And you're not feeling anything with your partner anymore because you don't have these skills in your relationship. But one of the skills is never take your sexual energy away from your partner. If you're starting to fantasize somebody else, just like I'm now thinking about my taxes, bring it back to your partner. And that you're training your sexual energy so it only goes to your partner. And I have sex almost every day, and except when she's having her period. And when I'm basically, because I'm so sexually fulfilled, I don't think about sex any other time other than when there's an opportunity to have sex. It's like, as opposed to when I was a young guy, and you'll see research studies have been done on 25-year-olds. They're thinking about sex every minute. For males, they're thinking about sex every minute. And this is literally thinking about what I can't have and don't have and somebody else has. It's not a real positive thought to have, but imagine just feeling such a fulfillment that I have it at home. Why would I think about somewhere else? But the wandering nature is part of who we are as males in the lower self and the lower instinctive self. We're supposed to go out there and find a woman to make babies. That's the whole thing. But once you find a woman who loves you, okay, then what happens is your body makes other hormones. This is now proven. This is the monogamy hormone, is that when you have sex with someone that you love and you're committed to, your body starts making prolactin. And prolactin inhibits your ability to be interested in sex, which is why couples who love each other a lot over time stop having sex. One of the reasons.
Wow. Yes, there's a biological reason for this.
A reason, so the man doesn't wander. However, what that hormone does, it reduces dopamine in the brain. But my whole method is dopamine is going to go away in a relationship anyway, because dopamine gets produced when the relationship is new and different. Well, after a while, it's not new and different. It's not going to have that excitement unless you create another way of creating the excitement between male and female, and that's called polarity. And that's what all my work is about. If I'm more masculine than my partner and she's more feminine, it's like a positive pole and a negative pole. When you get you don't notice that much. You're just good friends. You love each other. You care about each other. You have a sense of responsibility, a sense of commitment, just like I have to my clients in a sense, and my children. But when you have polarity of I'm masculine, more masculine, and she's more feminine, and we become intimate, if you take those magnets and you start putting them together, when you get really close, it clicks and they get stuck on each other. And that's the sexual spark. Now, you'll have that spark in the beginning just because so much dopamine is produced, but that goes away. And the only way to sustain it that I know is polarity. This is nature. This is opposites attract at that physical level. On a more spiritual level, similarity attracts, So when I'm feeling one with being the biggest selling author in the world, which I did, and then I stopped. I said, okay, it's too much. My angels come to me, they say, is it enough? And after 5 years, I said, it's enough. And then I went off the list the next day. Next week.
Really?
Yeah. The universe responds to you because there's a price you pay when you're famous. Most people don't know that. Certainly you have all these other benefits. People like you wherever you go. There's also people hate you wherever you go. People don't know that for me, never got a good print interview. Time, Magazine, Newsweek, everybody did things on me, always saying negative things. Okay. So, but TV, for at least a long time, I was on TV, and that was, people could see who I am and they would trust who I am and learn from me and so forth. Then in year 2000, I was canceled from TV. But see, I'm not the narrative. The narrative that we're being taught is that gender is just some concept that you can create, as opposed to gender is your biology. Okay. Are you a man? Are you a woman? And I can say I'm a woman. I can feel like a woman, but I still have the biology of a woman. So to say that I'm not a woman, to me, it's absurd. Okay. It's more absurd. Even when I was teaching Mars Venus back in the beginning in the early 80s, people would think, "Oh, we're not that different." And I said, we are. You just don't see it. To me, to think that men and women are different. Just even study sexuality, all the secrets I share about how to make sure your sex is fantastic and great. Women's biology and sex is totally different from a man's. It's outrageously crazy how men climax, how women climax, how men can be multi-orgasmic, how women can be multi-orgasmic. So completely different realities, which I explain. And once you have those polarities, now you can create excitement, but not just in the bedroom. It's enough. You have to create it throughout the relationship. And then in your life as a woman, you go off to work, be a man, that's fine. As long as you have a place to come back to where you can feel the polarity of returning to your female side.
Interesting. And so I love how you're speaking about this masculine feminine balance, because, right now in spiritual terms and in the spiritual world, we really talk about, divine feminine and divine masculine and having that balance coming together. But you're really talking about these same concepts also from a biological perspective and a psychological perspective.
Yeah.
So,
Put the word on everything I said. If you're just talking in terms of spirit, of course, all masculinity is divine. Okay. All femininity is divine.
I love that.
There's actually no such thing. This is an illusion of what is it they say about toxic masculinity? No, it's toxic people. People are toxic. Okay. Toxic women, toxic men. That's toxic. Masculinity is divine. This is your authenticity, spirituality. Divine is who we are. We're divine coming through this body. And when this body is in hormonal balance, or when health is present, when we're not in a state of agitation or stress or sickness or disease, when we're not in that state, then the divine is not coming through us. We're vessels for our soul. This is just a massive matter, okay, which is massively evolved and whatever. And our soul comes in and says, okay, I'm going to take the DNA of these people who are my parents, who are also good friends of mine in heaven as well. We have our soul group that we have, and we have bigger soul groups and so forth. But I'm going to take this vessel, and throughout my life, I'm going to relearn everything I've learned through my life experiences. And then I'll hit a level where now I'm learning new things. My soul is learning new things.
Amazing.
I think for most of us, the new thing we're learning now as a soul group on this planet of human beings on Earth is love. Everybody talks about love, 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 love. It's learning how to have, but it's not just feeling love. It's having loving relationships, having to be intimate with somebody who knows you and you know them, and you sustain the feeling of love. And then to be able to step beyond that and have a feeling of goodness and love towards others beyond. And that's what we call virtue, to be a virtuous person. But virtue is extremely confusing because, we feel virtuous at a lower level of consciousness when we fulfill our primitive need to belong. Okay, it's important need is this need to belonging. So a lot of our feelings of virtue come from, I think like everybody else. So if there's a, let's say even it's like a nonsense thing like that you can choose your sexuality. Okay. I have male biology, but I can choose to be a female. Like suddenly I'm a woman. Okay. So now let's say there's thousands of other people feeling that way. Then to fill my need for belonging, I can absorb that as reality. I can imagine that that's true. So a lot of our illusions are, we just, it's like people voting Republican or Democrat. I watch myself sometimes listening to politicians talk, and I want to know, are they a Democrat or are they Republican? If they're my party, then I'll think, oh, that's a good idea. They must be saying something good to me. Okay. If they're the other party, oh, they must be saying something wrong. Okay. It's amazing how this need to belong, and usually when you're feeling not aligned with your true self, your tendency is if I want to belong with something that's not aligned with my true self. Okay, so that's where you are. So when you're in a state of ignorance or trauma, where you have low self-esteem, you're going to find people with low self-esteem to become like them. That would be gang consciousness. If we look at the male side of it, I'm a gangster, I'm a bad person. You are. You've forgotten who you are. You're a divine embodiment, a soul, eternal soul, living in this little 100 years in this body, learning lessons, greater wisdom, more and more experiences, and everybody's doing that, regardless of whether we think, oh, they're missing out on so much. No, they're going to the movie that they choose. For example, I never go to these horror movies. Okay. I have no interest in being scared at a movie theater. Some people just love it. Okay, so that's the movie theater they're choosing in their life. Their soul is saying, okay, I'm going to experience that. But there's a wake-up call, which is always our happiness and our fulfillment is coming when we're aligning with our destiny and our journey in our life. We all have a journey, and we deviate from it. We suffer. Suffering causes us to change how we think and feel and do and act. And then we come back into alignment, but we're always going off balance. Okay. You can't learn anything new unless you make a mistake. You can't grow in your capacity to feel love unless you feel pain. I'll give you an example. It just happened to me. Somehow some food got caught. I got it crowned on one of my back teeth. And that caused a swelling in the gum, and some food got in there. And so there was inflammation and it was pain. Okay. So I spent a week in pain.
Oh, wow.
I thought I would heal by myself, but I needed somebody to scrape out that food that was hidden in the gum. I couldn't get it out. Now the pain went away and I was so happy. And actually what I realized is I'm happy all the time and didn't even realize it so much until I was in pain. And by feeling pain, and when the pain went away, then I realized, yeah, I'm happy. And I also realized I'm happy all the time. But when it's coming back to Marcy's book, Love for No Reason, another one, Happy for No Reason. That is a state of consciousness where you're happy for no reason. But you have to experience have the contrast to know that you are something. See, this is everything is, well, I'm not that. So I'm in pain. I realize pain goes away. I go, oh, finally I get to be me again, which is I'm this happy person. And to feel your happiness. And the same thing in relationships, things trigger you, make you upset, make you feel disappointed, help you be frustrated. Okay, that's not you. See, that's the negative. That's when you forget who you are. So to forget who you are and go, oh, I'm so angry at somebody, but that's not who I am. I love this person. I care about this person. Or I'm thinking, oh, she's an awful person today. Well, that's not who she is. There's also other aspects of her. And I don't want to hold her just to that 5 minutes. But people can hold a statement 5 minutes forever.
Exactly.
My wife asked me, I made a joke the other day, which is my wife said, do you like taking me out to dinner? I said, I love taking you out to dinner sometimes. And she goes, sometimes. I said, well, of course I don't want to take you out to dinner all the time. But what, sometimes you're happy? So she is somehow, if she held on to that instead of seeing the humor of that, she could go, he said that thing, so he doesn't want to go out to dinner with me. No, I do love going out to dinner with you sometimes. It's not like sometimes I don't like to have dinner with you. It's that sometimes I don't want to go to dinner, and therefore I don't want to go out to dinner. So all these little tweaks, and she could, if she was an unhappy person, looking for reasons to be unhappy, because what happens is we're out of balance. We don't want to be crazy. Nobody wants to be crazy. So if you're generating unhappy feelings and you don't realize you're doing it yourself with your negative thinking and whatever, then your brain kind of goes, okay, I'm not feeling at ease and comfortable and happy. Well, why not? And you look for reasons, and then you have to hold on to those reasons. This is what resentment is. So many people particularly women, get stuck in resentment. Men can't. But what I see it most in women is when they're not feeling loving, rather than go, okay, I'm a loving person, let me find my love again. Instead, I'm not feeling loving. Let me find a good reason I'm virtuous. I have a right to feel angry. I have a right to feel victimized. I have a right to be unhappy. And so all you're doing is affirming that I'm an unhappy person. I'll never be happy until the outer world changes. And then we're always a victim rather than knowing that we have the ability to find our place inside. And that's again, the spiritual bypass. At least you bypassed. You can always go back to that place. Then you can, with that light and love and happiness, now from that awareness, that consciousness, look at the things that are bothering you inside and ask the question, why am I feeling this way? Why else am I feeling this way? And that's learning how to process feelings. And at one point in our trainings that we'll do together with Soul Search is a whole class on healing the heart. I do these in weekend courses of my own, but now we're doing it together with these enlightenment conferences in short little pieces, which I'm very happy to do. It's fun for me.
Yeah, which is going to be great. And I think, what you're talking about, John, is taking these practices step by step, because, so many of us practice meditation. We practice meditation and we go into these different levels of flow state. But then how do we actually bring that into our day-to-day lives? How do we know when we're getting out of alignment in our day-to-day lives? And how do we create that how do we become the creator of deliberate alignment in our lives?
Yeah,
And
well, relationships is one of the most powerful ways. It's not the only way. But I remember, even when I think about with TM in the days with Maharishi, he would always say, meditate and then forget about it. Meditate and then forget about it. And the idea is forgetting about it will gradually integrate it into your daily activities. You don't want to just keep thinking about, I'm in a meditative state. I'm in a meditative state. You want to forget about it, and it will just sort of seep into your life. And the example he gave was an Indian example, is that when you see women, they dress in these beautiful colored saris, okay, and where they make a yellow cloth, for example, or a red cloth, and they would put the cloth into the red dye and soak it, and then they will hang it out in the sun for the sun to fade it out. And then they will put it in again and put it in the sun to make it fade out until finally it doesn't fade, it becomes permanent. So you want to dip into your enlightenment and then let it fade out. Dip into your enlightenment, fade out. And that's pretty much what he was teaching people. So you could experience it from just experiencing it to being it. Being it is it's there all the time. And he would call that cosmic consciousness. And I experienced that at 28. He confirmed that I was in that state. And even the one beyond that is where you feel everything is God, divine. And you're kind of like crazy at that time. You look at everybody and go, don't you realize you're all enlightened? You're all happy. You see some of these gurus that they're all like blissed out, whatever. They're a little crazy. Okay. They're very ungrounded. People are suffering right now or whatever, but there's a state of beyond the God consciousness that he would talk about. He talked about the unity consciousness. Well, unity consciousness is where most people are anyway, to a great extent. Unity consciousness is where you feel when you're in love with somebody and you feel one with them. And somebody's one with them, then when they're not behaving the way you want, you get upset with them. So
that pulls you right out of it.
You can't really get that upset with somebody unless you're one with them. And you think you should be different. You shouldn't behave that way. Where does that come from? Is this sense that, and that's the intimacy of making love. Clearly, that's when you click into that feeling of being in love. That's the God consciousness, the love feeling. And then you feel this oneness with them after making love. Well, now that you're one, then when your partner doesn't behave in the way you would behave, you think you should behave, then you get very upset. And then you're out of unity conscious. Then you push them away. And that in spiritual terms is what I went through when I stopped being a monk, was because I was in unity consciousness. And then coming out in the world, that was called the dark night of the soul. That's when you feel one with everything, but it's not behaving the way you think it should. Okay. You just expect everything to come your way, and it doesn't come your way. So the journey then is you start looking into the illusion that something's wrong with life. Remember, I talked about the higher level is forgetting everything's all right. Everything's okay. We have what is, and now let's make it better. You can't make things better unless there's limitation. And doesn't it feel good to make something better? Well, if it doesn't, if no one needs help, then what are you here in this world for? Okay. So everybody's problems become a reason for me to exist. And same thing when you have children, their problems give you a reason to exist. The world's problems give you a reason to exist. Although I'd say for people who can't manage a relationship, can't manage their children, what they do with their spiritual bypass is worry about the world. Okay.
Mhm.
No business
Mhm.
worrying about the planet, worrying about, I mean, teaching kids at some child kindergarten, the planet's going to die. This is
Mhm.
crazy. You don't give them that anxiety. That's how you're supposed to build this building. You're not supposed to know anything about that. One day you're going to have to pay taxes and make money. And child shouldn't hear that stuff. Children shouldn't hear the planet's going to end or whatever, which is also an
Mhm.
illusion. There's no way we could,
Mhm.
there's a force within everything that's making evolution, and we are a part of that force. And we will
Mhm.
suffer enough to motivate us away from it. But what I'm just saying here is that if you're not in a loving relationship with another person who's different from you, okay, when you can't have that, you're not even capable of solving bigger problems, and you shouldn't put your attention on that. That's just a bypass as well. Okay, I'm going to worry about
Mm.
the planet rather than worry about the fact that I'm alone, I'm not happy, I'm not having sex, I'm not having a job, I don't make money. Let me just go complain about the world. This is addiction, avoiding alignment with our spirit and our soul. And you're aligned with your spirit and your soul when you're at ease and comfortable, when you're at ease and comfortable. And, I hear all the negative things are happening, and they're really bad stuff happening. No doubt about it. Then I have to come back. If I notice occasionally, I'll feel a little anxiety and fear. For example, for me, this whole digital dollar thing, and
Mhm.
the social, uh, the thing they're doing in China, they're trying to do now, which is a social credit score. See, we already have a social credit score. If I want to get a loan, I have perfect credit. So I'll pay less
Mhm.
interest than anybody else. Okay. If you don't have
Mhm.
a high level, you can't get a loan, or you'll pay more interest because of your social credit score. We've been indoctrinated to that already. Like, doesn't it seem
Mhm.
unfair that I can get a loan easier than somebody else and I have more money? And doesn't it seem
Mhm.
that I can get a loan and get cheaper interest rates because I have a good credit score? See, well, they're going to do that in terms of how much meat have you eaten? How much electricity have you used? And so basically, I won't be using any electricity because I have solar. So I'm going to be able to spend more money than other people because they don't have their carbon credits. So I have no carbon credits. If you're using regular electricity, you're putting out carbon credits, which means you have less money. They want to control everything. This is the smart cities. Forget about
Mhm.
all that stuff. But when I see that the banks are actually starting to implement the digital dollar, a part of me is afraid people are going to buy into it. And so
Mhm.
I start to feel that fear. Then I look, okay, I'm upset about something. Now I feel it. Okay, what is it about? And I process it. And when I process it, I let it go because I come back to the truth. Then that's another state of consciousness. The truth of one state of consciousness is everything's okay. I've just forgotten that everything's all right. And these are the problems that we're here to solve. And then I could feel overwhelmed. Some people feel overwhelmed and they feel like I have to solve it all. No, you have to find your path, what you can do. So I'm doing my path right now, talking, just briefly
Mhm.
mentioning digital dollar because it came into my consciousness, but that's not my whole thing. If I started doing that, warning people, scaring people, go watch Alex Jones or something, say like that, then what's going to happen is I'm doing not my duty. Although people who do alert people to the realities, I give a lot of my money to them. That's the way I
Mhm.
can help. I have extra money, so I help people who bring wisdom in areas that I believe you need to understand.
Sure.
Don't buy into having the government control, get rid of TikTok, for example. I don't know if I
Mhm.
did that. I just did a talk. So, but they just passed a thing, which is if the
Mhm.
Senate passes it, we're in big trouble. Because if you get rid of TikTok, the law that gets rid of TikTok is a law that says the government can deem something to be not okay to be heard. That's
Mhm.
my website. That means your website. If they don't like what we're teaching, they can close your website. That's what they
Mhm.
want. These crazy psychopaths want to control everything. If they were to say we can control uh, a website that's run by the communist country of China, that would be fine with me. I have no problem with that. But that's not what the law is saying. The law is saying we're going to give the government power. The whole idea of why America is the shining, city in the world. We're the greatest. Everybody wants to come here. Everybody wants to come here. Why? We're the best. And why we're the best is that we're Christian. Not that everybody has to be a Christian, but as Christians, we started this country. We have values of love. That's the Christian value. And I'm not saying it's the only one, but it's the
Mhm.
value of love. It's not revenge. It's not punishment. You have a virtue. It sort of sets up these virtues that you want to at least make it your North Star. People say, what's the real essence of a relationship? Well, it can never succeed if you don't have the commitment. to come from a loving place to the best of your ability. And when you're not coming from a loving place, it's your job to come to a loving place. Now, people start out with that, but they don't know how to come from that loving place. That's where we talk about meditation is one way to at least reduce the stress. You know, go into more of a transcendental state is to sort of is to forget all your problems temporarily. Okay, you just let it go. That's what a meditation can help you to do. Divert your attention from all these things that are stressing you out, so your body can, oh, now I can relax. You know, my friend Dave Asbury is now teaching something that I was teaching 25 years ago, which is how to build muscle mass in your body, which is you just do 20 seconds of intense muscle work and then relax. All it takes is you put your body in emergency state, which is a stress state, and then fully relax, and your body adapts, and it adapts by building and becoming stronger. We need stress in our life, stress us, but then we need to be able to relax. And that's what research has shown, transcendental meditation research. I'm sure other meditation techniques do it as well, but they have the research on it, which is that you can have a loud noise and your body will actually react with more stress. You quickly let go of the stress. Now, what that means is very interesting. If you go into a very peaceful state, then a loud noise is going to shock you out of it because you're in a peaceful state. But the advanced meditator is going to be able to go from being shocked to relaxing right back into it. And that's what we want. Is life is filled with shocks. Those are the challenges and the lessons of life. Be shocked by, be traumatized, affect unhappiness, whatever it is, come back to feeling peaceful. And then from that peaceful place, your creative intelligence will figure out, okay, what can I do to contribute to help?
That's powerful. And I think that's really important, John, what you're talking about. And, you know, for those of you who can join us live at our upcoming expos, you're going to be able to go deeper into this, John, because, you know, I think a lot of us have the idea that, oh, we are trying to reach these higher levels of consciousness and awareness, enlightenment, and just be in this perfect state of peace. But life is one of ebbs and flows. And, you know, for us, it's really about learning to ride that wave. Wave consciousness.
You know, what was so interesting, if you look at historically, a lot of marriages, they lived in harmony. They didn't get divorced. They accepted their partners. They loved their partners. I was just looking at my parents, you know, they always loved each other. They had nothing against each other, but they stopped having sex. Okay. They stopped having sex because they weren't at a level of consciousness where they could feel the upsets inside. They were just good Christians who said, I don't want to say negative things to someone. I'll never say a bad word. I never heard my mother say anything negative about anybody. Never. Okay. She lived in a state of grace. She actually did live in a state of grace. Everything she wanted was already there. She amazing lady. She had an esoteric bookstore. People kind of wonder, where did all my spirituality come from? I was 3 years old. My dad was teaching us all yoga in Houston, Texas, if you can imagine that.
Wow.
7 kids, all the yoga mat, you know, we're all doing our yoga postures at the early age. And here I am as a child. I didn't have a meditation technique, but every morning I would go sit next to the heater and go into this wonderful, blissful state. I didn't know it then, but I was experiencing an enlightenment experience. In Texas, you know, riding a horse. I remember my first really conscious, I didn't put spiritual on it, but when I was on a horse, horses will trot, you know, and, you know, I'm probably 9 years old and I was at a friend's ranch and they had horses and we got to go out alone. I thought, oh my God, we're going to ride horses alone without people around. We're going to go out. It was just kind of like this feeling of freedom and the horses trotting along. And it was the first time I experienced a horse kicking into a gallop.
Wow.
If you've ever ridden a gallop is super smooth. It's flow state. And in that moment, I was one with the universe. I mean, it came to me at that time. It was just a glimpse. That's called a glimpse, a Satori experience, where you get a glimpse of what your soul already knows. And then you lose it. And then you get more glimpses and you learn meditation. And then gradually you get more glimpses until finally you experience it very easily. And then there's this day when it comes where you become that. I was so much experiencing this universe, the unboundedness of the universe, but regular practice. And one day it just happened. And that's when I shifted to another state of consciousness where I am that, which is what I experience. And that's a unity experience. It's an earlier stage of the unity experience. So it's hard to articulate these things, but it's nice had the variety of experiences to know you're on the right path, to know where you are, to know that there's more, because you can just sort of stagnate in the same state. You know, you just, and to have a technique that challenges you to move to
Mhm.
the next. And
Exactly.
part of my meditation I teach, I sometimes think, what do you call it? I don't know what they call it. Nobody taught it to me. It just sort of evolved through me. But it'd be like alchemical meditation, because what you do is you take one state and then you evolve into another state, and then you combine the new state with the old state and you get a new one. So this is the basics of all esoteric, is taking one. It's like alchemy is taking something, taking this, heating them together, and you get something else. And you can do this with these different states of consciousness. If you go into I am that, then go into I am that I am, and then you I am that I am. Now you're in a whole state of embodiment. I know that was very fast, but these things take me years to move through to have that embodiment of experience. So then, just for people to know, you spiral through all these 40 states, and you spiral through them again with greater awareness, with greater ease. So this is how we evolve, with greater consciousness of who's inside of this body and how to generate these states. But practically speaking, it all really comes down to, I'm suffering, how to let go of the suffering. And this was,
Mm.
Buddha basically said the Four Noble Truths.
Mhm.
Life is always going to have suffering. Okay. And the only way you're free from suffering is to realize that you're causing it. The outer world isn't causing it. That's the second noble
Mhm.
truth, is what am I doing to cause my suffering? And then
Mm.
once you recognize I'm doing it, then you can stop doing it. You can't really stop doing something. I'm holding on. I'm suffering. I'm angry. Well, you can't really let go of anger until you first realize I'm doing it. Okay. You have to be aware of it. And then you have to realize I'm holding on to it. And when you realize I'm holding on to it, you realize it's causing me pain, and pain
Mhm.
motivates change. Okay. Pain motivates change. So I'm doing this to myself and it's painful. Then you can let go. And when you can learn to let go again and again, then you can sustain having let go. And then a new suffering will come. You'll get a new one. This is the journey here, because everything is learning a lesson. We're here to learn lessons to be a better person.
That's powerful. So I love, John, what you're talking about today. And we're really excited to be going deeper with you in these upcoming expos. This process of enlightenment, one that ebbs and flows, and knowing that, it's a continuous journey for all of us. And that, we are going to continue to have difficult experiences, challenging experiences, obstacles come up. But it's how do we understand what are we the victim, or do we understand that we're the creator, and then
Wow, that's
shift.
so beautiful. That's a state of awareness. And then once you realize you're the creator of it, then how to effortlessly let it go, and how to be more efficient in letting it go is a whole aspect of that. And then
Wow.
and then
Very
the thing
powerful.
I came up with today, I just love this phrase. These
Yeah.
things pop out and decided to write it down, which is, in a relationship, when you have the potential, not that you're always going to do it, is to remember who your partner really is, even when they forgot. And that's the forgiveness,
Mm.
that's the compassion, that's the kindness, that's the generosity. And I speak. My wife often says, she was a teacher of relationships before we got married, and she says,
Mhm.
"How can I teach women to do this? Because men don't do what you do. You already know all this stuff." And I go, "Yes, but Bonnie taught me. Bonnie, my wife of 32 years, she learned,
Cool.
she drew this out of me. She drew this out of me." And so I teach women how you can educate a man into what you need and want, just
Mhm.
as you have to educate yourself into what you need and want, and how to communicate it in a way where he can hear it. A lot of women go, "Well, why should I have to educate him?" Well, because you do. That's what life is you have to let other people know what you need. It's like, that's
Exactly.
this romantic myth that he's going to be a perfect man. No, because you're not a perfect person either. Okay. You're going to attract someone who has challenges as well, like you. But
Mhm.
your thing is to take responsibility for what comes out of you, and then learn from a place of love, using the words, using the style of communication, using the timing, how to communicate to that person. There's another way that you would like them to interact with you, as opposed to just expect them to do it perfectly. It's like, here we are promoting, our event next weekend. What
Mhm.
are we doing this for? Because we're trying to motivate people to come. This is juicy stuff. So it's
Yeah.
not like we should just wake up and say, well, everybody should just come. No, we're out here working. We're asking people to come. We say, look, we got this. Here's an appetizer. We'll give this to you. Now come get more. And part of what more you get, because there are hours of me online and everything, but and you're in a room with me and I'm talking, there's a space that what I do is where you can ask questions, you can interact with me, and you get more of what I'm sharing through osmosis, through participation. That's the idea of a workshop. Now, to a great extent, the free talk is me just talking for an hour because I need to give you a database of new ideas to then ask questions from. You know, somebody would ask me a question, how do I sabotage my relationships? Well, I've got 100 ways you're sabotaging your relationship. Let's see what your issue is so I can tell you which one of those ways you're doing it to start with. Because once you fix that, there's going to be another one and another one. So these open-ended questions. So when I give an hour talk, sort of filling people in on the basics, which I didn't do today. We have our own little theme here that we did, but I do my basics that you'll get and interacting with me. Then I'm doing the VIP, which is a couple hours. Is it 2 hours or 3 hours? What did we decide?
I think we decided 3 hours.
We have it 3 hours.
Yeah.
Okay. So for 3 hours, then it's a smaller group where I work with people. And this time what we're doing is the enlightenment experience. Another time we'll do healing the heart. Another time we'll do sexuality. In my talk, though, I am going to talk about enlightened sexuality. I want to give people a vision of what your sex life can look like and then the pathway to get there. But if you don't have a vision of the possibilities, what's your motivation to do it? You know, to ultimately for a man to be multi-orgasmic and never lose your potency. You know, at 72, my friends in their 70s can't even get erections. Okay. I got one every day. It's magic. And this is the potential. And, you know, part of my goal, my secret goal in all of this is when I get to about 90 and I'm telling people I'm having sex every day, which is true, then they'll finally be motivated to realize that longevity and health and vitality all have a lot to do with your sex life. We'll put it that way. A lot to do with your sex life. Not the only thing, but it's a lot to do with that. And this is, you know, we're all sort of biohackers to create longevity, healthy longevity. You know, I think to a certain extent our death is somewhat destined, but be healthy all the way to the end. This is our potential, and to be sick, but then to heal. You know, it's not like they're going to be perfect. Everybody has their own challenges. What I see to be the case, interesting, is people who don't have sort of money challenges, they often have health challenges. You know, it's very interesting. We sort of have our major category of challenges in our life that we focus on. You know, you see, maybe you have a really great relationship and then you have challenges with your children, you know, or you have a great relationship with your children, but you can't seem to make it with your partner. You know, these are sort of destiny lessons that we all have. And for some people, it's going to be health challenges. And therefore, sexuality is not going to be the most important thing. Because if you're not healthy, you can't have great sex, the kind I'm talking about. But you can have sex, okay? Because ultimately, when I talk about sex, it's all about making love. Okay, it's all about how to use sex only to feel more, so that you can feel more love and learn how to express that love. This is the whole wake up. You know, everybody writing about books, when I read it, well, they do mention love and everything, but there's a huge focus in sex on how to intensify the pleasure, how to intensify pleasure. That's just addiction. That's why people think they're addiction, to intensify the state as opposed to be in that state. And what is the state you're in when you're having sex? Is you're feeling more. And now when you feel more, now you have a discipline, feel and express, share and express love, which involves talking, which involves noise, which involves practical skills, but never to intensify, but to allow the intensity to naturally increase. The flow of arousal, the excitement, the fulfillment of arousal, as opposed to intensifying. We're sort of addicted to intensity in our society, where it's too much, you know, and so it's like you have sex and it's over rather than it's never over. Okay, you're always feeling that connection with your partner.
Beautiful. And so that's just a sneak peek of the enlightened sexuality talk that, John, you're going to be bringing through for us in Santa Clara and also in Burbank. And of course, this has been amazing just to really be able to dive deeper in with you into the enlightenment process and what that means for us. And, I love that you're just bringing all of these practical tips and tools for us to be able to navigate our life's journey, rather than feeling like, oh, there's this unreachable goal that we have to we have to reach of perfection, and we're not there yet and we never will be. So it's, beginning to understand. I love what you said, is that we are divine masculine, we are divine feminine, we are divine in our beingness. That's who we are.
That's who we are until we're not who we are.
Exactly. And that's what these meditation practices and others do, helping us to remember who we are. And it's really that simple, it's really that
Well,
simple.
the concept is simple.
Yes, the concept.
You see the North Star over there, but to navigate, and when the winds are blowing, you have to correct, but you can't self-correct unless you have a place to go to.
Exactly.
This is but I think we're kind of winding it down
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
And so I want people to know how they can reach you and how they can reach me. So why don't you tell everybody how they can find
Sure.
information about the events,
So
your website and all that?
wonderful. So, of course, all of you can reach us at soulsearch.io. You can see all of our upcoming events on our events pages. To see about Soul Search Santa Clara, you just go to soulsearch.io/Santa Clara Expo, Burbank Expo. And we have many more, including Carlsbad and Scottsdale coming up. John, people are really excited. They were just asking us this morning, is John going to be coming to Scottsdale? And I was like, definitely. So, people are really excited. So definitely tune in with us. We also do online events, and we're going to continue doing online events with John Gray like this one, so that we can really be exploring the many different teachings that, John, you have to offer, including some meditations with you as well, right?
Yeah, the profundity of meditating together in a group with me. Oh, it could be other people as well, but with me, it's 50 years of experience that I have with this. And the example I give, without using an esoteric example, which is transmission, that's why you want to meditate with a master, because you get transmission if you're in relationship with them. And that's why I give my talks first for a while, so people are in relationship with me, and then the transmission is so easy. The same thing is if you were to learn to play tennis, and you're just playing with a friend who doesn't play tennis very well, your game will go down. But if you play tennis with a pro, somebody who spent their life developing their skill, they're in the flow state, then you naturally resonate with them. You'll go into that flow state as well. And it will be a temporary experience, but it lasts a long time. And some changes are actually being made in your brain, depending on how many times you have that experience. So that's really key, is that there is a biological shift, not just knowledge gained and a great experience. It will be a great experience for others, but depending on the connection you have with the other people or with the person who you're doing it with, is you will feel the connection afterwards. And so it's easier to go into that state again and again and again. So there's nothing that beats people group meditation. We're going to do some online meditations together, which is, it's good. It's good. I mean, people resonate with me quite easily through TV or the screen, but nothing like in person. See, in person, that's why it's the whole idea of your friends are all the people you see on the screen. It's you're getting something, but you need to actually have people in person. That's what we all got during the lockdown, was all this. We got addicted to the screen because that's all we had. That diminishes to some extent our ability to connect to reality. So I just want to mention that there's benefits to this, but there's also in-person experience, which is very important. And part of why we're doing these classes, I'm doing classes with you, is that I'm invited around the world always to give these 1-hour talks. I get paid a lot for it. There's 500 people, 1,000 people, conferences, all those people. And I get really high from it. It's kind of like a drug, but it diminishes my ability to connect with normal, ordinary experiences. So I like doing these little classes, actually interacting with people. Even today, I still have my counseling practice that I do. I interact with people. So I don't want to be so hyper stimulated by big audiences and lots of energy. I was mentioning that before, why I stopped. When I asked my angel, I don't want to be best-selling author anymore, is I needed to calm down the whole energy around me. because it was too much. I couldn't sleep at night.
Mhm.
So many people
Wow.
thinking about me would connect to the chords. Just somebody thinking
Mhm.
about you and energy to you. And then now
Mhm.
you have to realize, imagine a football stadium of people, 80,000 people buying your book that week and telling somebody else the next week to buy the book. There's a lot of energy coming at you, positive and negative. It doesn't matter. It's energy coming at you that affects you. When you have rock and roll stars, I mean, when they do these arenas and whatever, they go off and they're crazy. They take drugs. They want to burn up that energy. For me, the
Mhm.
only way, it was very painful unless I would wake up and meditate and send the energy back. Okay. So if I,
Mhm.
this is
Mhm.
like Michael Jackson, who was like a superstar. And again,
Yeah.
an enlightened being completely, what flowed through him was pure God energy, but he
Mhm.
couldn't handle that energy. So he had a personal life that was a little crazy and
Mhm.
whatever. But he said basically, I've never been happy in my life except when I'm on stage.
Mhm. Mhm.
So what's going on is he has a talent. Talent is God's energy flowing through you. He's expressing that, and with his audience is, enjoying it, energy circulating like this. And then he walks off stage. They're all walking away feeling that was an amazing experience. Thank you, Michael. All that energy is still coming to him. They're playing his records, coming to him.
Mhm.
He's not sending energy out. So the
Sure.
energy builds up. So you have to actually stay. For me, so I would just, not get much sleep. I have to meditate all night long. Usually it
Mhm.
started around 3 o'clock, and then I would just have to meditate to send the energy back. And it was just so much. So I said, okay, I'm done with that. I've got my message out there now. I'm just going to go in my flow. So anyway,
Wow.
these are some ideas of why rock stars and people who get a lot of fame have so many problems. It's almost like you're not even famous until you've gone to drug rehab. It's become
Mhm.
they depend on drugs. So I don't depend on any drugs. All that is a way of burning off the energy, wasting the energy, as opposed to circulating that energy, sending it out into the world. And then the more energy you can give to the world through help and service, the more your brain opens up the channels to receive more energy. And then when you're
Mhm.
not giving that energy, say you're mad at people and you're withholding, as soon as you hold back that energy, it's like holding back urine flow. It's painful. Okay.
Mhm.
It's like you can't hold back. You have to let it flow. So when you hold back, you suffer. And then we think, the anger we feel is we're suffering because of that person. All of our suffering is coming because we're blocking the energy. We're saying, if you do that, then I'm not going to feel love for you. And the truth is, we want to feel love for all. It doesn't mean we surrender to all, but it means we
Mhm.
can be well for all.
Beautiful. So
I
I
know it's
love
messed up, but it went into another whole talk there.
well,
The
exactly. But it's true. And it's all about us. And here at Soul Search, we really are about expanding and connecting and, continuing to give and receive that energy. And I see Thaddeus, who's one of our members based here in Phoenix. He's saying so many great insights, loving it, especially the parts about the importance of connecting in person. Love it. And the importance of polarity in relationships. So thank you, Thaddeus. And you'll be seeing John soon in a few months in Scottsdale, I'm
so
sure.
so
So,
I
John,
want
this has been amazing.
I want people to know a few things. One
Thank
is,
you for sharing.
this
Yeah.
is the book that I'm talking a lot about when I talk about polarity. It's called Beyond Mars and Venus. The reason for beyond is the more traditional roles that we used to have, woman homemaker, man provider, that was a polarity. And when that polarity goes away, we have to go beyond the traditional Mars Venus polarity to help
Mhm.
women who are on their male side come back to their female. And for men, in the process of helping her come back to her female, he becomes more masculine in that process. So that's this particular book where I'm pulling a lot of the information from. And I want people to know that I do have classes at marsvenus.com. There's a
Mhm.
class on sex. There's a class, very popular one. There's a free one right there when you get there on the basics. And then there's a class that my daughter and I edited it, but she wrote it and provides it. But it's fantastic. It's called Understanding Men, because so many
Mhm.
women are always asking me, what's he thinking? What's he going through? Why did he do this? Why did he? It's just like this explains it all. Okay, it explains it all. It's a 6-week class that you can take online at marsvenus.com. And of all the things, I recommend that. I also will be talking at the event. I'll be talking about nutritional supplementation for enlightenment.
Mm.
It's certain with certain herbs that have been known for thousands of years in India and Asia and these ancient cultures that will help lower your stress levels so you can go into these altered states of higher consciousness. And there's one, if you go to marsvenus.com, right at the top, I have a
Mhm.
product called Elemental Orotates, and you can click the button and read all about them. But I formulated them. I've been promoting this for over 25 years. I
Wow.
use it myself. Okay. It's like the essentials. Well, I also biohack with other things, but to me, this is the one nobody's doing. And it's so helpful for meditation, for spirituality, for relationship, for balancing your hormones, not taking hormones, but helping you to balance your hormones. If you're doing the behaviors, you also need to, you can know how to build a house, but you still have to have the lumber. So it gives you the extra nutrition you need in order to go to higher states of consciousness.
Amazing. So, John, thanks so much for everything. We're excited to see you this weekend in Santa Clara and next weekend in Burbank. And, we're excited to keep doing more with you and sharing, the frequency that you're bringing through with all of these transmissions. As like you said, it's coming at so many different levels. There's the words that you're speaking, but there's the frequency and the transmission that you're sharing with all of us from your 50 years of experience and practice. So thank you for your time. And we're excited to see you in person soon.
Great. Thank you so much. We'll see you then.